70 degrees out today, which is so weird. It's been so rainy and horrible. And last night, I'm sure many of you saw in the news, we had a horrible tornado. Two tornadoes, I think. One went right through the middle of downtown Nashville, and one hit, I'm not exactly sure, but I know it did hit Putnam County, which is Cookeville. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just going to say, karma just really sucks. And in downtown Nashville, it obliterated the DCS office building. Okay, so it just totally took it down. It was just a one-story building, so the tornado had to dip all the way down to the ground and obliterate it. So I saw I posted a picture of it. If you get a chance to look at it, it's not like where the commissioner is. It's where all the social workers work out of and the DCS attorneys. It's a horrible, nasty building. I've been in there several times. It's nasty. I mean, you go in there and they have all these cubicles and it's like this nasty gray color and the carpet's nasty and it's just a horrible place anyway. So, they're probably going to be happy it got torn down because now they'll probably figure out how to build something new and spend a lot of our taxpayer money. But, I'm just saying it was just kind of karma. And then the second one hit Putnam County, which is Cookeville, which is where Wendy and I got our federal court case crushed and stayed until the criminal thing was over. So I don't know. I'm just saying a little karma there maybe, but it just happens. But so let me just catch you up on some of that. So for those of you who are following, Wendy Hancock and I are co-defendants on this alleged custodial interference issue when DCS got an ex parte order on her kids. So I have prepared, along with my criminal attorney and with her criminal attorney, we've prepared a motion to dismiss the indictment. And I think we have a pretty good case. We're going to be setting that. We would like to set it for the end of March. Remember, this has already been going on now since July. We'd like to set it for the end of March. We may not get it on the docket quite that soon. But the federal, we went to federal court in December. I think it was December the 16th. And of course, there's 7 other attorneys sitting on the other side because I have so many defendants named in the case. But they tried to make a big deal to the magistrate that Wendy and I were both under criminal indictments, and so therefore I couldn't represent her, and they're going to have to stay the case, and we couldn't do anything. So the magistrate stayed the case, which is really okay because just time-wise, I have to deal with all of that, and it takes a lot of my time, and plus I had a couple other briefing things I had to do, and they had not given us our discovery yet. So we got our discovery in our criminal case, and we went all the way through it, page by page by page. I mean, and they went back and got my booking picture from when I got contempt charges against me because I judge another screwy order that a judge did, and this was way back in 2008, and the judge put me in jail for contempt. They got Wendy's, some neighbor and her had a dispute, and there was police calls. I mean, they just went back in all the annals of history and dug up everything they could try to dig up on us. Of course, there's not really anything there, so it was kind of hilarious. It's pages and pages and pages and nothing. So I went through it, though, every page, and interesting, though, is that Detective Cornelius and Matthew Holmes, they talk about having an emergency ping order to ping her phones, and I do not see a ping order in there, so we're going to have to be following up on that. So that's where our criminal is. Our federal court case has stayed pending the criminal. I've got a couple other things I need to do with that. What they did is they got some of the juvenile court records from the federal case and they filed them in federal court, and I made a big deal about it. So that's back in the state court, and they are trying to take an order that was appealed and make it a final order of adjudication. So I just filed my Court of Appeals brief on that issue. And then on the Turner case, which is the medical kidnap case, that's a federal case, and I had a reply brief due on that to the Sixth Circuit, so I just got that filed about a week ago. So then, at the end of last week, I got an opinion out from the Sixth Circuit Court on another case that I have pending in which a juvenile was put in solitary confinement and assaulted in solitary confinement. And the Sixth Circuit actually did find that his constitutional rights had been violated, but found that that had not been clearly established as a constitutional violation in 2013. So I have 14 days to do a petition for rehearing, and I sat down. I had to pout about it for about 48 hours because I was so upset, and we had made such good arguments and everything was really properly before the court. So I was really not happy about that. But I just, after I get over pouting about it, I just really sat down at the computer and started struggling along and getting through it. So I'm about halfway through that. And since I have a scheduled trip to D.C., going to Washington, D.C. next week on the 11th, 12th, and 13th, I really need to get this buckled down right away. So it just puts a lot of stress on me because also I'm trying to help clients deal with their cases as we go along. So that's where that case is. And let me say, oh gosh, I'm just going to tell you, I've had a couple of people come to me that, they probably have some really good federal cases. These federal cases are so hard to do. They're so hard to do because there are so many legal issues and so many legal barriers that you have to get over before you can even get to trial. It's 5 years. The case from Sixth Circuit that I'm working on now was filed in 2014, and here we are in 2020. That's 6 years, and we're not even near a trial. And they had stayed that because of a criminal case. So they will drag it out, hoping you will die or get cancer or just drop dead or something. The government just thinks they can just drag it out as long as they want to. So, but I'm just going to keep trucking along on that. So lots of new people coming in telling me their stories. So there are some things happening statewide. As you all know, the Families First Preservation and Services Act passed federally in February 2018. Originally, when it passed, all states were to implement it by October 2018. Well, it's been shoved back. And so now I think they've shoved it all the way back to about October 2022 or something ridiculous. And the states won't implement it. And the states won't implement it because it's a huge paradigm shift for them. The only states, I think I read, Oregon has a plan in place, Washington, D.C., and somebody else has a proposal, I believe. But the states just aren't implementing it. And let me just tell you again what the crux of that does. So Title IV-E funding. And every time I explain this to people, just people who don't know anything about this problem, and I explain to them how this works, they all agree. It just makes so much sense for them to implement a program for the FSPSA, and they won't do it. So under Title IV-E funding, of course, they have to take children to get the money, to get the per diem, and then they start providing services for the families. Well, they want that per diem. That's just the way it goes. They want that because I think they can use I think it's up to 25% of those funds for administrative cost. And so, they put a kid in foster care, they may get $2,000 a month, and then they pay the foster care company, $1,200, and then they get $800, and then they can use some of that for administrative fees, a bunch of it for administrative fees. So, it's a huge paradigm shift, and they don't know how to handle it. Under the new law, they would be able to provide a family services prior to removal. And since about 70% of the children are removed under what's neglect, and sometimes it's poverty and it's needing a new air conditioner or something ridiculously stupid, they would be able to do that for a whole lot less painful, or mental health treatment. These things would cost the state a whole lot less money, would cost, and I don't even want to say cost the state because it's cost you, okay? Please understand, this is your money. You get out there, you bust your butt, you work hard, you grovel around to pay your bills, and you end up paying all this tax money. Everybody's paying at least 25, 30 cents out of every stinking dollar you make, and it's going to the government, and then they're using our money. So it's not costing the state money, it's costing the taxpayers money. Own that money, own those decisions, and get active about it. So in Tennessee, thank you, Debbie. I'm trying. So in Tennessee, we have about 4 laws that have come up this year that I'm trying to watch really closely. So one of them is to appoint that the appointment of a guardian ad litem can happen like if a school bus driver thinks there needs to be a guardian ad litem, or if a teacher, or if a doctor, or a police officer. So this new law says that basically any of these people can get a guardian ad litem appointed to a child. Now, I don't know how they're going to do this. I guess they think they can have a hotline to the judge's office, because it takes a judge to appoint a gotten over 200,000. Yeah, I understand, Chris. I know they have. But anyway, it takes a judge to appoint a guardian ad litem. So I guess they're going to have to create some type of form or application or a hotline where they can just call up their county judge and say, like a teacher can say, I think this child needs a guardian ad litem. So it's ridiculous. It is privatizing child welfare, putting it in the hands of attorneys who are not social workers, who are not psychologists, who make decisions, weird decisions. These are not the kinds of decisions that you go to law school to make, okay? You go to law school to make legal decisions, okay? You go to law school to understand property law and contract law and constitutional law. You don't go to law school to learn what kind of tutoring a child should have. You don't go to law school to learn whether or not the child's had the proper medical treatment. That is not what attorneys do. And to pretend that they can be good at it is stupid, okay? But then a lot of these social workers aren't any good at it either. So I don't know. But anyway, it's going to cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. Hopefully it will not pass. I have not been able to set aside time to speak on that. And then that's one of them. Thank you, Lorraine. Yeah, 7 years, Justine Pelletier. That's exactly right. I've had cases gone on forever. So one of the cases wants to criminalize a pregnant mother if she's used drugs. They've tried this twice and then repealed it. It's just not the right direction to go. Yeah, exactly. You're right, Chris. A lot of the guardian ad litems don't even have their own freaking kids, okay? So the other one is about criminalizing pregnant women if they use drugs. I think that's a bad idea. It's the wrong direction. We allow criminals to go to recovery court. They used to call it drug court. Now they call it recovery court. We allow criminals to go to recovery court and stay out of jail. And yet if a mom uses a drug during her pregnancy, then she can go to jail. She doesn't even get a pass go or go to recovery court. I don't know. On the other hand, you're like, okay, well, if they arrest her, then maybe she can get the benefits that criminals do, and then maybe she can go to recovery court. So I don't know, maybe in kind of a backwards, twisted way, this might work out in a way. But I don't know, because criminals have more rights than parents. So then there is this other law up there. It is called 2109, and it says that if a parent has a child in custody with the DCS, and they're pregnant, then DCS can come to the hospital and get their other baby. No questions asked. They don't need a court order. They don't need nothing. They can just go get the baby and leave the hospital. Now, for all of you involved in child welfare, you know that DCS will take your kids and they don't even have you adjudicated as an unfit parent. It's on probable cause, which that whole probable cause standard is twisted, screwed up. It's unconstitutional. But if you just have a probable cause and you're pregnant, they can take your baby. Oh my gosh. And I have two cases, one this happened to and one it didn't happen to. And they're very similar cases. They were both medical kidnap cases involving young babies under a year of age. And then during the process of their case, before it even got to final hearing, they had another baby. One of them had to give up her baby at 4 days old. And there was no abuse. There was no neglect. There was just the fact that she had an open case and her other child had been removed from her on a questionable medical kidnap. And eventually she got them both back. The other case I have is a mom with a baby under 1. She has a medical kidnap case, essentially the same diagnosis and the same injuries, constellation of injuries. She had another baby, and they didn't bother her other baby. And now they're keeping the first one that she removed. And it's like so crazy. It's just like crazy. It makes no sense. They just don't use their heads. So So I'm trying to defend her. I defended the other one, got the kids back. So that's a crazy bill. So I went downtown today to go speak on it. I did not announce it. I didn't invite a lot of people down because I know, number one, I'm being stalked by DCS through our Family Forward project. I know they're watching, and I've tested it a few times, and I can tell they're watching. So we know that, and we're trying to avoid them sabotaging anything. And secondly, since Wendy and I still have the indictments on us, they are using that to impugn me to everybody they can. And I now have some pretty good evidence that I think Central Office was involved with my arrest. And so I'm at the right point of time. I'm going to bring that out. Let's see. So while I was downtown, though, today, I did not get to speak because there were 2 other bills in the Senate Judiciary. Oh my gosh, it was actually very good. I recorded the whole thing. I'm probably going to go ahead and upload the recordings. I will break them up into 2 separate recordings because they're 2 totally separate issues. But one of them was on the Second Amendment and about Tennessee's passing a new law changing the permit. And I'm a constitutionalist. I believe in the Second Amendment. I'm not able to closely follow Second Amendment laws because I'm so busy with child welfare issues and keeping myself educated and up to date and conversant on that. And so I can't follow all the nuances of the 2A. But it was very long. We had lots of people there come and speak, and it took over an hour. It took about an hour and a half just on that one issue. And so, and the law enforcement, as you probably know, but the police officers are against the right to carry arms. You know that? They are against it. Which makes me really questionable. All these stats start coming in. They try to say it's going to become more violent, more crime. But, a couple of these legislators up there, they got it. I mean, I was a prosecutor, and I know criminals, they don't care about freaking gun laws, okay? They don't care. If they want a gun, they're going to go get it. I mean, I remember when I was a DA and then I represented a few people in criminal defense. I mean, people would leave guns in their freaking mailboxes, okay? So they don't care about gun laws. Criminals don't care. I would rather, and we talked a little bit about the Waffle House shooting, and a mom came in who lost her child in the Waffle House, and that's horrible. But you know what? There was somebody there that ultimately had a gun. We talked about the shooting at the Texas church. Well, it's a horrible thing, but somebody in that church had a gun with them, and it would have been worse had they not had a gun. So, I believe in having a weapon and carrying a weapon, and I think you should. I think everybody should. Then, if the criminals knew everybody was armed, because they carry a gun because they know you don't have one, and they don't want to be shot either. So they carry a gun because they know that you don't have one, or probably their chances are pretty good you don't have one if you're a law-abiding citizen. And so they can carry their illegal gun and rob you at gunpoint, and you're scared shitless, right? And so you give them whatever. So, we'd be better off if law-abiding citizens had guns. Now, I'm very concerned about children and guns, very, very concerned. One reason I don't keep a gun in the house, I just don't trust kids anywhere near a gun. So anyway, it was guns. So let me move on to the next one, because the next one was very, very important. And it's very important for our issue because it was about abortion. And Tennessee has on their list of bills. It's called, I have to remember, it's got an odd name. It's called the Law of Life, it's basically a heartbeat bill, but they don't call it that. It's got an odd name to it. So I hadn't really focused on that today, but we came in and that was the second bill, and they decided that was the only bill they would be able to do today because of the tornado. And they wanted to close down downtown, and there was lots of damage down there. So it's probably a good thing. So Planned Parenthood came in to speak, and when I get this uploaded, this one will be shorter. This one's probably about 45 minutes, but you should hear Planned Parenthood. It's frightening what they say. It's just really scary. I mean, when one of Senator Bowling asked the Planned Parenthood lady if, who was protecting the life of the child, is the privacy right of the mother more important than the right of the child to live? And, she refused to answer that question. She just said, you and I think differently. So it's pretty frightening, I think. So there are other issues that have to do with medical care and access to medical care. I totally agree on that, and I think that's very important. But, Senator Kyle was talking about don't bring me a bill like this until you provide good health care for women. I'm going to tell you, in the state of Tennessee, if a pregnant woman doesn't have insurance, they put her on TennCare immediately. So I don't think prenatal care is an issue for women in Tennessee, even poor women, because I know my daughters have had TennCare babies. So, I just don't think that's an issue. And I wish somebody would have addressed that to her, and I may actually call her and ask her to reconsider, just based on the fact that, we really don't have that type of a prenatal issue, because pregnant women get on TennCare, and so do the newborn babies. So that was the issue. All right, so I did not get to speak. So I did sit right on the front row in a bright yellow jacket today. I did post the pictures earlier so you could see that. And sometimes I just sit there and I'm 10 feet away from them, maybe 15 feet away. And I just stare at them until they look at me. So Senator Jack Johnson was there. I just looked at him. I just stared at him until he looked at me. Then I said, hello. I sat right in front of Senator Bowling, and I just sit there. And she looked up and she's like, well, hello. And I'm like, hello. So I sat right in front and center so they can't miss me. So I did not get to speak, so I'm going to try to get down there next week again. I had my speech all written out. I had it all practiced. I had it all down to 5 minutes. I was all set to go. But with this bill can't pass. But it's really ironic to me that we had these senators, the same senators who are supporting the fetal heartbeat bill, are giving DCS more power to take your baby away from you at the hospital. And I'm kind of glad I heard that argument, because now I can say okay, so you want to protect all the babies, but you want to walk into the hospital and take them away from their mom if they decide to keep them, or prosecute their mom and put her in jail if she's got a drug problem. So it's y'all need to get your thinking on the same path here. Y'all need to get on the same track. So, oh gosh, so that's kind of where we are, what's going on. I just made a commitment. I do a lot of things that I can't post about. I've had contacts with lots of people in different parts of the country. I had a great conversation with a news reporter from Florida last week. I had a great conversation with somebody who's been very instrumental in helping the Angel Moms, who's really just, because all know Kathy Hall out of Arkansas, well, she's in Colorado, but she's really kind of a cross between Angel Moms and CPS, because an illegal alien killed her daughter, and then DCS took her granddaughter and sold her basically. So she really crosses over between the two issues, and she knew Senator Linda Collins Smith in Arkansas, so she's kind of right on the cusp of several things going on over there. So this person had connected with her and really found out about all the stuff going on with CPS. So I had a great long conversation with him. So all that. Okay, so let's see what else. So then I also posted yesterday. It was kind of difficult for me to make this clear what had happened, but I got this phone call, and I had represented this mom back in 2001. As a matter of fact, this was the mom that I was with on the day 9/11 happened. That's why I can always remember when our case occurred, because we were together in the courtroom on September 11th, 2001, and we were fighting for custody of her kids. And during the break, we were in the clerk's office. They had TVs on, and we're watching all of that. And then we have to go rush back in the courtroom, and then the buildings fall. It was so horrible. But we were together. And she was in a really, really perilous, horrible situation. And she had been married to a very narcissistic, controlling person. She had 4 children. They had gotten a divorce in Kentucky. he had two of the children. She had two of the children. I came along to help her when she got in Tennessee, and one of the first issues was that he owed her some money. He was supposed to pay her a certain amount of money by a certain date, and if he didn't, then she could force his property to be sold, blah, 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 blah. And so when I came in, that's what I'm like, okay, he didn't pay you, so here's what we're going to do. And so we went after him. And ultimately, we had to chase him all the way through bankruptcy court. We had to force a property to be sold. He starts getting very hostile about the children. And there were some issues with drugs and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And I did get the money for her, and for her it was a lot of money. It was like $130,000. And then he ended up fighting her so bad, he ended up making her spend all that money and twisted everything around so that he could take all four of the children. So that by the time she gets through all of that, it's probably about 2005. So then she moves. She decides she's worn out. She moves to another state. She's trying to get resettled. When the kids turn 18, or when one of them does, I don't know exactly the time sequence, but in 2012, so at least one of them was 18, the dad takes the kids in to the district attorney in a local county and have the children say that their mother violently and grossly raped them, molested them, abused them when they were little, okay, like 10 years before. So the DA's office bought the story. Now, this is so weird to me because, I mean, I have little children. I have cases that I work on where there are kids who talk about abuse and nobody believes them, and it's so hard. And we have to be very diligent in even trying to find evidence, or just trying to help them be believed or whatever. So this dad took these kids in, and the DA, the detective in Rutherford County, and the DA bought it hook, line, and sinker, charged her with oh my gosh, 30 counts of child rape and molestation and blah, 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 and all this horrible stuff. Well, by the time I found out about that was in 2012. She finally ends up getting a lawyer, going to trial, whatever. She has a trial in 2015. I did not represent her. I didn't feel like I could really do it. I just wasn't competent to do it. And I thought they might call me to testify because I knew her when the kids lived with her, but they didn't. And she got convicted. She got convicted to spend 40 years at 100% in prison. She was 50 years old. And so she went through an appeal, and she lost the appeal. And then she started post-conviction relief, which is all part of the criminal process. And I just got notice yesterday, 2020, February the 27th, 28th, she got her case reversed on post-conviction appeal. And the reason she did, the reason that she did was because the other two children, so one of the children, the main testimony came from one child. Another child got on the stand and took the stand and said, I had said that before, but it wasn't true, and my brother's making it up too. He did say that, and still got convicted. But the attorney and the DA, there was another child, and the other child had also recanted and had recanted everything. And the first she told the detectives about abuse, and then mom's attorney went to talk, and the detective watched, and the girl was afraid, and so she continued to lie. And then after she was able to get away from them, the detective, her dad, everybody involved, then she told them the truth. And she said, but they didn't know. Mom's attorney didn't know, because mom's attorney did not go back and try to get to her again. Well, it's so hard to know. I mean, I can understand that. But the post-conviction relief said that because this child also recanted the story, and there was another witness who had heard another child recant the story that was not called. And since these stories had been recanted, And that was basically all this was. There was no physical evidence. It was all just testimony. So since that's all there was, and they had, it would affect the credibility of the witness, and it would have materially affected her case, the judge threw out her conviction. I'm shocked. And this was Judge Royce Taylor, he'd like retired. This was like the last thing he did going out the door of his judicial seat was do this. And he's the very same judge that watched her get convicted. Very same judge. So, and this is a judge who was in the military. I mean, he was really like a straight shooter. He was very, he was aggressive in criminal sentencing. And so I am so shocked. And so yes, we do need a Netflix on that. And then I had seen when she got convicted, I'd seen it in 2012. I had seen it all over the Tennessean and all over Murfreesboro papers, and it was so embarrassing. They had all her shots from being in prison. She looked so horrible and so beat up. And so I called the radio station today, and I called the local newspaper today, and I sent them the post-conviction relief, and I said, you need to run the story, and they did. So I saw it on the radio station website, posted it, and I haven't seen it in the paper yet. But they even did a story, the local paper over there even did a story like interviewing the child that did testify, and his dad got them together and had them like tell the story about how happy he was that he could finally disclose all of this. And I mean, it was such a deep, twisted lie. So, I'm going to tell you, I've done this a long time. I've seen lots of sexual abuse cases. I've seen children that I know were sexually abused. I've seen them, and I've seen situations where I believe the mom was trying to trump something up. I've seen it. I've known it. I mean, and I don't think you have to be a psychologist to look at a child and know when to believe them, but it's a very, very critical issue. So I've got a new case that I'm trying to follow up on some of those issues, and hopefully we can pull the right proof together. But so that is for me. I mean, that's awesome. That is so good. And you're right. It is such a story because that twisted plot and twisted truth. So, okay. So, Wendy got some kind of doc is going to happen with a lot of what we are dealing with. I've already contacted several media. Okay, good. Yeah, Chris, y'all need to let it go. We just need to start pushing these stories. So I know I've got a couple other stories. I've got a couple that came in to see me. They live in Chattanooga. Gatlinburg. They were actually in Chattanooga. And, until a client tells me I can really tell their story, I'm a little bit hesitant. I can tell you generally some things about it. I just don't like to really tell the whole story until they really give me the go-ahead. And I usually tell people if they have a story that I think is pretty awful and needs to be told, I usually ask them directly, can I talk about your story? So 100% of them that I've asked have said yes. So, but they had a case where they had a baby that died on a trip to another city in Tennessee, and they got accused of murdering the baby and took their kids, and it's horrible. So anyway, lots of as you can see, I'm working every day, man. I'm just like, I got my little 2 set at that computer and writing briefs lately. That's been my go-ahead, has been cranking out briefs and also trying to just get other cases lined up. Mother coached, attributed fantastic, ridiculous. Yeah, nobody wants to look. I'm going to see what Joe said here. Nobody wants to look at Mother for false reporting. If they don't, I'm going to make them famous. Yeah, good, Joe. Yeah, so I'm going to tell you, now that we're on that subject, I'm going to tell you something else to watch out for. There's a test out there. It's called the 99 static test. And I've seen it pop up, okay? And what they want to use it for, a forensic psychiatrist wants to take that 99 static test. It's an interview. It's a self-reporting interview, and give it to an alleged perpetrator to get them, to exonerate them before they've ever admitted to anything by saying that they got a low score on the 99 static test, and so therefore they have a low rate of recidivism. Okay, so, but the 99 static test is very, very, very specific. It has one use, which is to use for people who have already confessed, convicted child molesters or sex abuse perpetrators, to do an assessment to see how much treatment they need before being released in society. So to see exactly what they needed to be treated for. Because it asks questions about whether or not you live with somebody you're not married to, or whether you live with somebody else's children, so it's very specific. So I've now caught a forensic psychiatrist in my area, my geographic area, who's trying to use the 99 static test to exonerate an alleged child perpetrator. And I am going to expose that too. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you all so much. I was moved I got the kids in the household at least on a low pause here. So at least settled down enough to be quiet while I could talk. And as you saw from my post before, like I said, if you follow me, it's all night I'm usually making sandwiches or, peeling bananas or slicing apples. And I'm sure right about now, everybody wants a bedtime snack. So it is time for me to check out and go get a bedtime snack together for everybody. Make sure their teeth are brushed, get them in bed, et cetera, and then get ready for another day. So love y'all. Good to see you. Hang in there with me. We're doing things. Y'all are so important. Please invite more people into Family Forward Project. Please start figuring out who your state senators and state reps are. We have got to get on them. Okay? All right. So I'm going to check out. Love you. Bye.